Welcome to the video for day 7. Today we're going to talk about domain range with functions continued. So to recall, a function is a set of ordered pairs x comma y in which every x value or input is paired with one unique output or y value. So add in for the x value above that word, add in that those are your input values. And we talked about in class how we always want to talk about inputs and outputs when we talk about functions and defining if it is or is not a function. We talked about if they were functions based on graphs. Now we're going to look at a set of points. So in this first example, I have the points 1, 7, 2, 5, 3, 6, and 4, 7. What is the domain? So above domain, we're going to write in x, to remind ourselves that the domain is talking about the x values. Now for this question, it is a set of x values, so I'm going to highlight the x values. So remember the x value, points are always x comma y. So I've highlighted all of the inputs in purple, and we're going to write them down in a set of numbers because it is a set of values. When we write the set of x values, we're going to be sure that they are in order from least to greatest, and we're not going to repeat any values. So the domain of this function is the set of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. The range, your y values, so I'm going to highlight those in a different color. So I highlighted them in yellow so you could really see the difference. So my y values, my range, my outputs are 7, 5, 6, and 7. So again, remember, we want to put them in order from least to greatest, and we want to make sure we're not repeating any of the values. So the range is your set of values 5, 6, and 7. The next question is f a function, and why or why not? So when I look, remember, function means every input has a unique output. So if I look at the inputs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, none of those values are repeating with a different y value. So this means this is a function. So although the y value of 7 repeats, that does not mean it is not a function. This is the hardest concept of function. We're only looking for if the input values repeat. So our explanation is going to be, so I started by saying the yes, but the explanation is because every input has a unique output. The next question is asking us to find f of, and they're giving us in parentheses the 3. So remember, it's normally f of x. So that means this 3 is an input, an x value. So when I look at my points, when I look for the input up here in purple of 3, I see it in the third point, 3, comma 6. So the output, when I substitute in a 3, I would get out the 6. And that's just by looking at the points. Same idea for f of 1. So again, where is my input of a 1? It comes first here. So the output is a 7. The next part says if f of x equals 5. So remember, when they write this as the f of x, it's a fancy way of saying y equals. So here they're giving me the y value of 5. And they're asking me to find the x value, the input. So when I look for the output in yellow up above of 5, I find it in the second point, so that would mean that the x value would be the 2. So I just wrote x equals 2 because they had asked me to find the x value. Okay, so I'm going to leave this second half for you to try. It's very similar to the first example I just went through. On the bottom of this page, these are just different diagrams, so this is a mapping. These on the left are your inputs, so we sub in, these are your outputs. Input goes to an output. Based on this graphing, we're going to list out our domain, our inputs, so these numbers, our range, our outputs, so these numbers, and if it's a function or not. Given a table, so another way we could represent these, so again, we're just going to look at the table of values. Here are our inputs, here are our outputs, so domain, range, and then determine if it's a function or not. The next page is looking at word problems. So when we look through word problems, we need to determine the inputs and the outputs before we can answer any questions about what they're asking. So an internet music service offers a plan whereby users pay a flat monthly fee of $5 and can download songs for 10 cents each. So we could start by writing this into an equation. So to write the equation for that situation, it would be The cost, Y, would equal $5, so 5 plus 10 cents per song, so 0.10x, x representing the number of songs, 10 cents for every song. So what is the input value in this situation, and what type of number would be appropriate for this variable, and why? So the input is the number of songs. I'm going to leave what type of numbers and why you think that for you. The output, though, would be the cost. So just being able to identify the inputs and outputs, and then we can answer the follow-up questions. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today. We'll do more with domain and range tomorrow. Have a good night.